This conference will now be recorded.
Control R is going to reset this. Control R again. F12 is this one. So suppose you are buying a system. So my question, please listen everyone, my question, and then probably I'll ask the answer for each one of you. What do you think about it? So let's say you can paste your answer in the chat box as well if it's just one line answer. So let's say you are buying a laptop or any desktop, and what does it come with? Like what you can expect in the laptop? Obviously hardware will be there. In terms of software, what you can expect there? Mm, is it breaking? Is it breaking my voice or how it is? Mm-hmm. Okay, so let me repeat my question. My question is, somebody has replied DOS. Okay, good. Let me repeat my question. Suppose you have a new laptop. You have bought it from an you have bought this laptop from a shop or online or whatever medium it is, and what you can expect in that laptop, newly bought laptop. Somebody has told DOS, somebody has told operating system. Disk, RAM space, okay. Yeah, I agree. Just assume that we will have all the things in terms of hardware. It should have OS. One, two, three, four. I've got 4 replies. I see 11 people joined. I need reply from every one of you. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4 only. Aditya, have you pasted your reply? Hemant Kumar, Shashi, Ritesh, Savita, Venkat. I want everyone to paste your reply here. Am I not audible to remaining people or what happened? Or you don't know? You can mention, if you don't know, you can mention don't know. Ritesh, Hemant, okay. I got reply from everyone, it seems. So Let me start from starting. Ansh said it will have DOS. Yes, it's correct. Another person said, Swanti said it's having operating system. That's correct. Komuda, disk space, RAM. Yes, okay. It will be there. It should have OS. It should have is going to compel that it should come with operating system. Ganges, let me tell that what if it doesn't come with operating system? It may come, may not come. So Ansh Jan again said that it comes with bootloader to start with an OS. Savita says OS. Venkat, disk, RAM, and OS. Okay. Shashi, bootloader to start with an OS. Adit, processor and storage. Okay. Disk, RAM, OS. Ritesh mentioned. Hemant is also mentioned only SSD. Hemant, is it going to come only with SSD? And that too I asked in terms of like software, not in terms of hardware. Okay, so I got reply from everybody. So let me explain what it is. So my question is moreover related to software. So when you're going to buy a laptop or desktop, you will have definitely a hardware, and in terms of software, you may have an operating system or you may not have an operating system. So by default, it comes with DOS. DOS is also an operating system, and most of the time you might have seen that you may get a Windows operating system. But before any operating system, it has to boot with BIOS. Without BIOS, it cannot go further. So can someone tell me like what is BIOS, if you know? BIOS stands for Basic Input Output System. So when BIOS, you have when you are pressing the power key, it has to bring up with all the hardwares, whatever your computer contains. Let's say you are having RAM, you are having Wi-Fi, you are having okay, not even Wi-Fi, you're having RAM, you're having storage device, you are having PCI devices, and lots of USB devices. You are having monitor, you are having keyboard. So all these things, before you can access them, before you can turn on your graphics, you can turn on your LCD screen, all these driver has to be get loaded. So that work has to be done by the BIOS. And when BIOS comes up, then it searches for the operating system from where to boot. So operating system comes along with bootloader, and the GUI interface, or I can say the operating system comes along with the bootloader. And most of the embedded system, it has U-boot, and most of the what I can say is most of the general Linux does have a grub bootloader. We'll see grub or grub 2. The updated version of grub is grub 2. So we'll see that in further classes, that how we are going to modify and what is the security for that, and different things, and debug from the debug perspective as well. So here you will have bootloader, operating system along with the bootloader. So from grub, we'll jump to the bootloader. Sorry, not from grub. From the BIOS, we are going to jump to the bootloader, and bootloader is going to tell us where the operating system image has been kept. So operating bootloader is going to load further the operating system files. First of all, it's going to load the kernel. If you are looking at Linux operating system, it's going to load the kernel, and after loading the kernel, in kernel, it's going to load several things like several subsystem. Let's say memory management unit. Let's say uh, process management unit. Let's say several drivers, Drivers means PCI driver, Wi-Fi driver, LAN driver, display driver, so many things it's going to load. And after successful loading of the kernel, it's going to load the file system on which you can do your job. And after loading the file system, if your Linux operating system is going to support the graphics, it's going to load that one as well. So when I say that it is going to load the kernel, definitely there are several information kernel needs. And those information, suppose how many processor you are having, what is the RAM size, what is the disk size. There are some information which kernel can get from the by querying the device itself. It's going to query the device and device is going to reply back. And some things operating system has to get to know through the BIOS. The BIOS, basic input output system, tells the bootloader and operating system that what I am having, what this system is having. And then further it starts booting. We'll see the log also, and I will explain like these are all the information coming from the kernel, and these are all the information is coming from the memory management, all those things. And probably further I can say that these are all the information coming from the user space, application loading, and GUI further. So those logs also we'll see, and we'll get to know that what is, I mean, what are all the steps involved inside booting of any operating system. We'll see that. When we talk about the log, we'll discuss once again this topic. So is it clear that what I will have if I do have bought a new system? And I hope it's clear. If anybody has any doubt, can ask any question regarding that. Okay. My next question is why we need operating system. These are all the questions I'm asking because these are all the questions related to interviews and related to your knowledge check as well. I presume that you may know, but still I wanted to know. I wanted to hear from everybody that what do you think? What is the operating system? Or you can explain why we need operating system.
It manages the computer's memory and processors.
Why we want to manage memory processors and all, man? You are saying correct. Why we need that? Why we want to manage memory? Why we want to manage anything at all? Anybody else can reply?
We
Everybody
need
can give a try.
operating
That's
system. We need operating system for converting machine language to human readable language, vice versa.
okay. Then again, next question: why we want to convert machine language to human readable language? What is the requirement? Do I really need that in real life? That machine language to be get converted into the human readable language? You said correct. Operating system performs that job as well, or maybe vice versa. But do we really need that? Or is that the purpose? That's why we need the operating system? Yeah, Ajit, you wanted to say something?
So,
Okay. Human cannot understand machine language. Okay, so my question to Kumuda is why we need to understand the machine language? Because we bought a computer?
Machine understand only binary language, so that the OS is convert binary language to human readable, vice versa. So that we need operating system.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we'll talk that. You are
Uh,
correct. It happens. It happens. But what is the main required? Why we need to read the sorry, why we need to read the machine language? I'm asking that requirement. Why?
We need to interact with machine.
Okay, why we need to interact with machine?
We have to use a machine. So
Yeah, okay. Why we have to use the machine? Okay, no problem. You have made a good try. Yeah. Unjan to run an application. Swanti, so that all the application can be run on the same platform. Okay. Ritesh, without an operating system, computer is useless. That's correct. But my question was, why we need operating system? We need operating system to Rinkat is operating system is a program that acts as an interface between the system hardware and the user, making the task easier. Okay, let me add everyone's reply here. Yeah, correct. Venkat is also correct. So let me add everyone's reply here. We wanted to expedite our work. Let's say simple work. Let's say that you wanted to type, you wanted to type, not even type. You wanted to write it down something, some letter of 100 pages, some book of 100 pages. You wanted to write it down. So if you wanted to write it down 100 pages of a book, either you need to write it down by your bare hands, or you need to find out a typewriter which can do the work. And if you're finding a typewriter, obviously it will give you a printed paper. I mean, it will give you on printed form. But suppose if you are about to if you're about to print uh, two books, you need to write down each and every page two times. Am I correct? This is a simple example I'm taking. So what I will do is I can look for a software where I can type all the things, all the 100 pages, and I can give a print command, and I can connect my printer, and the printer can print all the things again and again, n number times of what I wanted. This is one job. Next job. Let's say you wanted to get to know about some website or some place, what other people are doing. Let's say you wanted to access Facebook itself. So for accessing Facebook, you need Facebook application or a browser. So let's say you need a browser. For browser, you need an operating system. And another work, what I can say is for video conferencing or for audio conferencing or for talking as well, you need a piece of software which runs and that gives an interface for you to connect with all the people. And for running all the application, whatever you need for your daily usage, you need an operating system. Am I correct? That's the requirement of an operating system. Why we need that? Please bear for 2 minutes. Let me get back with the charger. Yeah. So everybody agrees with whatever I have said, or anybody has any doubt in that? Like, so some of the replies are very much close to what I've explained. And yes, Swanti said that. Sorry, Kumuda said that human understandable language we need to convert into binary. Yes, that's also correct. When we install the operating system, when we are running an application, our application comes with the binary, and the binary consists of ones and zeros, which machine can only understand. And whatever we save as a file, either it's a book or it's a text or it's whatever it is, it's going to be get saved as a binary only. And obviously, for executing that binary, we need a machine and we need an operating system which understand what we wanted to do with machine and what machine is telling us, that understand the operating system we need for that purpose. Okay. So next question is, let me go ahead and see. Install CentOS. Here it gives us a choice for installing, checking on the keyboard. Now we have all these things. An installation destination. Okay, before that, installation source is our media. Here we can have some further options as well. Like if our installation source lie down in somewhere in the network, we can give that here. And if we do have some repository from where we wanted to uh, update our operating system or do something, we can add it here during installation itself. We are not going to do. And I believe this one I have explained. Have I explained or not? No reply. I'm expecting somebody to reply yes or no. Have I explained this in last classes or not? Like what this is and at least a basic differences in between all these. Not everything. Okay. Compute node. This is you are required to install whenever you have you need a computation power. Let's say you are going to build up some of the cloud infrastructure. Cloud infrastructure at some point of time need hypervisor and several other things as well. So for this, you need to install, you need to click on this infrastructure server. It's again hosting a data center or hosting something specific uh, to a particular organization. So you can see that backup server, DNS name server, which is going to resolve the name server according to the IPs, debugging tool, directory client. So let's say like LDAP, if you are having for mounting the file system and all for those things, you want email server, FTP server, all these things are here. And for infrastructure, for building the infrastructure, you need several tools as well, like Java platform and load balancer, database for mail server you need. And there are some generic things you will get in most of the cases, like print performance, not performance, something like DNS, you'll get most of the places, debugging tools, and network file system, all those things you may get. Security tool you may get in most of the cases. So all these things is related to infrastructure server. File and printer share, it's going to load with lots of file sharing protocols and lots of driver which is related to printers. And next is basic web server. If you're going to install this, it's going to come up with a basic web server. Web server can have PHP, can have Perl, MySQL, Python, all those things can have. So it's going to load with the basic. It should have Apache or HTTP as well somewhere. Okay. So all those things are going to be get loaded by default. You are not required to install all those things after installing of the operating system. Virtualization host, this is basically for virtualizing your hardware. If you want to use your hardware for virtualizing or for installation of the virtualization software, let's say if you want to install any virtual machine. So for installing any virtual machine, definitely you need some of the application which support virtualization of your platform. You can say that VirtualBox is a software which supports virtualization of a platform. So if you're going to install VirtualBox or if you're going to install something specific to virtualization, you can install this, which is going to automatically install the related libraries and files along with this. So what are all we are seeing here, you can install all those things on the top of your existing OS as well. But why we are looking at this right now is you don't want to install additional things. You just want a specific to that particular use case. So in that case, you can click on whatever you want, whatever you need, and then you can install it. Here, server with GUI, it has the basic capability. You can see that backup server, DNS, email server, FTP. It will have MariaDB and for the DB as well, yeah, MariaDB and SQLDB, yeah, SQLDB you can see, printing server. Since we spoke about GUI, it has a KDE GUI and it has only KDE, it seems. Yeah, it has only KDE. Okay, fine. It has KDE, and here we can see Genome Desktop. This is also a server with GUI, and this is also a server with GUI KDE Plasma Workspace. This workspace is a kind of server for the developers who work, and this provides workspace for the developer, and with the several development tool and the libraries. You can see the development tools, basic development environment, all those things. This KDE Plasma workspace provides. Office suites also, you can see it here. Development in creative workstation. This is also another type of development actually, which is very much specific to the development of software, hardware, and graphics. You can see all those things is installed. This also comes with KDE. KDE and Genome and XFCE, all these things, whatever I'm mentioning, it's a GUI it's a GUI interface. KDE looks a bit different in terms of GUI. XFCE looks different in terms of GUI. Genome or GDM looks a bit different in terms of GUI. And the basic component which is lying down behind the GUI is going to be it's going to be the same for each and every installation. Either you install KDE, Genome, or any GUI, whatever you install, it's going to be the same. So next I'm going for, let's say, Genome Desktop. Okay, I have pressed done. Software installation selection is done, I think. Let's go for installation source. Not source, sorry. Installation destination. Here I wanted to tell lots of things. I wanted to say that, sorry, I don't want to add any disk here. I wanted to say that I wanted to configure by myself. Last time in both the options with minimal GUI and GUI, minimal server and GUI, I might have selected automatically configure partition. Now I wanted to select that I will configure the partition. So when I click on this and when I press done, it gives me one more pop-up which will tell me what configuration I wanted to do, how I wanted to configure my storage. So it has 8 GB of free space, my hard disk. So I have pressed done. I don't want the LVM, I want standard partition. We'll discuss about what is LVM in further classes, and we'll see how we can create an LVM as well. I am clicking on plus sign, which is asking me to add some space. So here we can see mount point and desired capacity. So let me explain two things, or one thing here. For installation of any Linux, we need to have a mount point, and that mount point tells us about that particular portion of the file system is going to be get used for what. Let's say if I'm giving a mount point is root. Root is a file system. It's not a type of file system. Actually, root is what to say. It's the complete set of directories where all the folders or all the Linux thing is going to be get installed. So it's not a type of file system, but it's a file system where everything is going to get installed. Let's say if I'm selecting boot. So in boot, in boot mount point, our bootloader, our grub, whatever we have mentioned before, is going to get installed. Some point of time we can make separate, or some point of time we can make a we can make everything in this. If you want, first of all, the basic requirement for your any Linux system to run, uh, uh, you are required to add two mount point, at least minimum mount point root and mount point swap. These are all the two minimum things you need to do. When you are giving root only one mount point, it means all your boot, home, where all the things are going to be get installed in this root mount point only. We'll see in further classes that what is root mount point, how it looks like, what we're talking about here. Also, as of now, just assume that root point is the mount point where we are going to install everything. And swap is a space. Okay, let me ask a question here. Can somebody explain what is swap?
Hello, sir.
Uh,
Basically,
yeah.
yeah. So basically, swap is work when our RAM is full. When the system is going slow, then swap space is basically used by the system.
Okay, yeah, correct. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, so let me elaborate the same thing. What Srinivas has tell. A swap is area, or swap is a kind of file system which is going to be get utilized whenever your RAM is flooded with the data. So it means your RAM is almost full. Then and you still wanted to load some of the application. So what happens is your operating system copies the data from RAM and transfer that data to swap, and it will free up your RAM so that you can load further application onto the RAM. And suppose if you are trying to access some application which has moved to RAM, then once again it brings back the space from swap to RAM, and it transfer whatever is there into from the RAM to swap again. So it do vice versa, but it only activates, or it only starts working whenever there is a space constraint in your system. Yeah, and those information we should be able to see in through some of the commands in Linux, that what command has been used for. We'll see that further, that what command has been used for installing, sorry, for looking at the swap, how much it has been used, how much it has not been used. So basically, two minimum thing is required. Swap, generally we give twice the size of RAM. Here we have 2 GB RAM. Let's say 2 GB itself as okay, fine. Let's say 4 GB. Let's say if it's taking or not. Yeah, it has taken. That's the swap, and remaining 4 GB. Generally, it should not be the case that I'm giving operating system just only 4 GB, but okay. And desired capacity, I'm just leaving it to blank space. So whatever the remaining space it is having, it's going to take all the things. Root and swap. So these are the two basic partitions which is required for installation of any Linux operating system. Obviously, you can make separate home, separate var as well. We will see in further classes what is the use of separate home or separate var, or any further separate mount point. We'll see that. We can mark it as done. Now it's asking what are all things we wanted to do. So, I mean, what are all things we have done? It's going to show us step by step here. So these are all the device name: SDA, SDA1, SDA2, SDA1. We'll see this as well more. What is the meaning of SDA and SDA1, SDA2, and how to play with these. And these are all the format type in which they are going to get formatted, and what is the action it's going to perform here on that particular device. So this is the action we see. Accept changes. Kdump here we see. Kdump, it means like we wanted to enable some memory for dumping our kernel. Whenever any system is going to crash, I wanted to look at the dump. Dump means the running state. What are all things has been running on the system, and for further debug purpose, I wanted to check what went wrong or how to debug those things. So for that purpose, I can enable kdump and proceed further. Let's disable as of now. I don't want that. No enough software selection is needed. Okay. For the swap, let me reduce the swap size actually, because I have selected the genome desktop, which is going to take more size. Here it says not enough space in the file system for the current software selection. An additional 538 MB is needed. So 5 GB is not sufficient for genome desktop installation. Not the source to the destination. I need to modify. This is okay. Yeah. Swap, let me make it for 2 GB only. 2048. And the remaining space, I will delete and I'll add root file system here. It has taken, now done. Accept changes. Error checking storage configuration. Click for detail. Boot file system cannot be a type of, okay. Boot I have set to LVM, it seems. Yeah, it should be standard partition. This is okay. Accept changes. Yeah, I can see that begin installation. I'll begin installation. Now I can set up the root password and user creation. So these things, okay, let me save the space here and we'll start the same thing tomorrow again. So for that, let me start the recording first.